Welcome back to the Girl Out of Order podcast. I am glowing. If you are not watching our podcast on YouTube and you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, get on over there because then you can see my bright and shiny countenance, my smile, my, kind of a interesting attempt at a new hairdo after the stylist did my hair at this conference. But most importantly, you'll see my eyes are bright and I am so freaking happy right now. And so today on our podcast, we are going to continue our journey into the topic of worthiness. Today's podcast is called Owning My Worth. And I am so excited today to tell you all about my experience at the Own Your Worth Women's Conference. So the Own Your Worth experience hosted by the incredible Loren Lahav this past weekend in Las Vegas. But before I do that, I wanted to ask you as a faithful listener of the Girl Out of Order podcast to please help us get this message out far and wide. All around the world is the goal. We want to build up the biggest tribe possible of girls out of order, women that are coming together to build a community of female human beings that fully accept their beautiful selves and make a commitment to themselves and to one another that they will no longer chisel themselves down or mold themselves to other people's expectations. But in order to build the Girl Out of Order community, we need your help. Would you please go on whatever platform you listen to this podcast and leave us a written review? Those reviews are pivotal. I don't know. I just made up a word there. Let's try that again. Are pivotal to growing our audience, growing the influence of Girls Out of Order, and building this beautiful community. So we would really appreciate your help in doing that. Secondly, our Girl Out of Order pod, now it's the Girl Out of Order community. It used to be the Girl Out of Order podcast Facebook community, but now it's the Girl Out of Order community on Facebook. It doubled in the month of February and it is growing every day. And we need, sister, what only you can bring to our community. We are hosting live events. Women are connecting with one another, and we have so many exciting plans for this community coming up in the next couple months. So get on over to Facebook and join the Girl Out of Order community so we can have your influence and we can help you grow in your journey. Okay, so let's dive into the content for today. As you know, we are in a month where we are discussing the topic of worthiness. And last week, we talked about your past does not define your present worth or your future unless you choose to live there. This week, I felt that it is just so perfectly timed to talk about how I, Christine Gale, am owning my own worth. And it comes off of this 3-day amazing experience. Actually, it was 4 days for me in Las Vegas at the Own Your Worth Women's Conference. And if you don't already know, I attended the True Voice Public Speaking Intensive in February that Loren Lahav hosts in Las Vegas. It's a very small, intimate group of women who want to own their true voice, who want to get inside themselves, find that authentic voice, and then learn how to speak it out with boldness and confidence and purpose. And I made a commitment back in late fall to join this True Voice Intensive. It was going to be the biggest, most important investment I was making in my dream to become a public speaker. And I made a commitment to myself, and I even spoke it out to Sean when I made the decision to join this intensive. I was going to win what I'll tell you in a little bit, those ruby slippers. And I was going to earn a spot to speak on the stage at the Own Your Worth conference, which I just did this last weekend. The reason I want to share with you this journey is because it wasn't a straight line from I made a decision, this is what I'm going to do, and I just freaking did it. Like it was so easy. No, no, no. It wasn't easy. And I want to make sure you understand that my journey to owning my worth is still unfolding, sisters. It unfolds every day. But I want to share this path with you because what I learned on this journey to the stage this last weekend opened up my eyes to my potential and potential of the impact of telling my story with all of its ugliness and all of its beauty. So let me back up. So I made this commitment to join this True Voice Intensive. And let me tell you, it was not without a lot of second guessing and self-doubt, even after I made that decision. In fact, less than 3 weeks prior to the start of this intensive, I actually left a voice memo for Loren. And I said, before I finalize any of my reservations, I need to talk to you. I'm having some doubts. And Loren, to her credit, called me immediately. And I won't disclose the contents of our conversation, except to say it put my doubts to rest. And I leaned into incredible and uncomfortable uncertainty. And I know we've talked in this podcast about the 6 human needs that Tony Robbins teaches us about: certainty, uncertainty, and variety, which are the same, one and the same. Love and connection, also the same form of human need. Significance, and then the higher needs of growth and contribution. Well, this girl has struggled with clinging to certainty for my entire life. It is a battle for number one every time. And so one of the commitments I've made in the past, after Date with Destiny in particular, is to lean more into uncertainty and embrace variety and allow life to unfold without having to control the outcome or even the steps on the way. And for those of you who know me personally, you know that that is huge for me because I, like many of us, am a little bit of a control freak. But I also, the beautiful side of it is I take a lot of comfort in knowing what's coming and having a say in what happens to me. That's really important for so many of us women, especially those of us who've been robbed of having a say over their lives and their autonomy in the past. So I leaned into uncertainty with this True Voice Intensive. Listen, sisters, I hadn't booked my flights. I didn't know where I was staying. I didn't know how I was getting from the airport to where I eventually found out I was staying. But I leaned into trusting God and the universe to unfold this exactly like it was supposed to happen. And in doing so, I decided for myself that my message, my mission, and my person was worthy of this adventure. Now, let me say that again. I decided that my message, my mission, and my very person, who I am as a human, was worthy of this adventure. And it was that single shift in my mindset that opened me up to have the experience of a lifetime. So I went to this True Voice Intensive believing I knew my message, I knew my big idea, I knew what I wanted to teach women. I just needed you to teach me the mechanics so I can just get myself on stage. Just teach me the how, because, you know, as lawyers, we're always stuck in our brains and let me just figure out how to make this work or figure out how to be persuasive. Let me just figure it out. What I was unprepared for, sisters, was an unfolding of a message that for my whole life, I have been too afraid and too reluctant to tell. So I won't disclose all the things that happened at the True Voice Intensive, but suffice it to say, and by the way, there will be a link in the show notes to the True Voice Intensive. There are 2 more happening in 2024. Get yourself there. It is, I called my husband the first night. This is a little bit of a side note. Called him the first freaking night. And it was only half a day that we had. And I said, if it ended tomorrow, babe, I got every penny's worth if it ended tomorrow. And we still had 2.5 days left. But you're pushed to get inside, to peel back the layers of your story. And this became an integral part of my worthy journey. Because as I peel back the layers, the story I thought I was there to tell, the story and message I thought I was there to teach women became background noise to the story that I was meant to tell at this time in my life. And so let me back up. I think there's an important story that I would like to tell. So part of what they do at this intensive is you get to spin the wheel, if you will, and come up with a talk about the hero's journey. If you're not feeling familiar with the hero's journey, I'm going to put that in the show notes as well, a link to the hero's journey. And I'm not going to be super effective at explaining it, so just go to the link, figure it out for yourself. But the hero's journey, suffice it to say, is the basis of all the most important stories like Star Wars and Wizard of Oz, which is what we were doing for our example at this intensive, Harry Potter. The hero's journey, it forms the backdrop of how you frame a story that not only effectively tells the story, but allows you to teach others through your story and inspire them and move them to action. Because we don't just tell our stories to pump ourselves up. At least we shouldn't. For me, I want my story to be my mission. I want my story to be the vehicle that helps women achieve lasting change and unleash their full potential. To do that, you need a framework. So we spun the wheel and I got the topic of loss. And essentially what I had like an hour and a half to come up with a talk. I don't even know if it's an hour and a half. Honestly, I'm probably just making that up. I don't know how long it was, but it felt really super short. And at first I'm thinking, okay, I'll talk about the loss of my parents. Sure, I could do that. But as I started to go through this, I was like, oh my gosh, I think I have it. And I chose to talk about the loss of reputation. And this was a story I also was super reluctant to tell. And as I was working through the hero's journey to tell this story, it became clear that this story, this event in my life, this experience could have broke me. It could have destroyed my self-confidence, and it could have reinforced the decades of believing that I wasn't worth being respected. I wasn't worth being friends with. I wasn't worth being, I just wasn't worthy. And this story that I told could easily have derailed my career, my confidence, and my mission and where I'm at now. But the way that I handled it, it did the opposite. So in the interest of time, I'm going to boil it down super small. Effectively, what I did is I used the hero's journey to tell the story of when I was held in direct criminal contempt before the 2nd District Appellate Court of Illinois. It was a horrifying experience. I was overzealous in the advocacy of my client, and I wrote a very disrespectful appellate brief. And let's just say the court did not take kindly to it, nor should they have. And in a move that nobody I know in this area had heard of, they hauled me before them and grilled me for an hour to have me try to convince them why they shouldn't hold me in direct criminal contempt, which effectively means I offended the court and I needed to be punished. And so the story I told, I laid out the whole, the context. I described walking into the appellate courtroom, which was like 2 stories tall, and I described the whole event. And then I brought forth the lessons that I learned from that experience. And just the act of going through telling that story, you know what that did for me, sisters? It reminded me of my own strength and resilience. It reminded me of the power of humility and taking responsibility for my mistakes. What could have told me how unworthy I was because of the way I chose to handle it, it actually reinforced my values and my value. Let me say that again. It reinforced my values and my value as a person and as an attorney. And so I thought, after telling that story and getting this great feedback from everybody, I was set. I was going to be able to tell the story I knew I wanted to tell for our final day, where you literally put on the talk, your big idea, and then you compete to win those ruby slippers I was talking about and earn a spot to speak on Loren's Own Your Worth stage. So the night before I had to give the talk, I was an absolute wreck. I was crying. I was yelling. I was angry at myself. I kept telling Loren and Katie, her phenomenal assistant, who's in charge of all the what they call syntax, helping people get their stories out. I was beside myself. I was like, I can't do it. I'm out of time. I've lost this opportunity. Oh my gosh, I'm not worthy. I didn't say those words. I didn't have to. I didn't have to say those words, but that's how I felt in that moment. And I was surrounded by Loren herself and Katie and all the extraordinary coaches and women that are part of Loren's True Legacy Collective. And they didn't let me sit in my shit. Sorry for the phrase. But they refused to allow me to indulge in this self-pity and this old story that I'm not worthy. And they pushed me. And they, like Loren says, she's going to kick your butt and hug you at the same time. That is the kind of tough love, but belief in my worthiness that I needed to unleash the next day. When you are doubting your worthiness, sisters, stack your proofs. Go back as far as you need to and pull out of your life the times when you were strong and resilient and determined, and you didn't let a situation take you down or destroy you. Because I feel so confident that every listener to this podcast could sit down with her journal if she really opened her mind and heart and she gave herself the grace that she gives other women. You could come up with a long list of proofs that you can stack when you feel those moments of unworthiness, and it will fuel you. And if you can't come up with it, call a trusted person, because I guarantee you she's going to help you flush all those things out that maybe you've blocked out because you've clung to an old story that disempowers you. So I started stacking my proofs. And I took all of these papers with all of these notes that we had written out, and Katie had written all of these big ideas. Even as I was crying, all I could come up with was one phrase, one overarching phrase, a song, and a couple pictures. And I stuck them up on the wall in the bedroom where I slept, and I went to bed and I put it to rest. And I woke up the next morning and oh my gosh, there was the story. This man who was teaching at the intensive, his name's Shore. What an interesting name. He said, if there's a story that you're too afraid to tell, but it keeps coming up, that's your story that you have to tell. It's a must. I'm paraphrasing. But the story that I ended up telling on the last day of the intensive, I was too afraid to tell. I had never told that story publicly. And frankly, when the music started, I wasn't totally sure what was going to come out. But suffice it to say that that day, that moment, that storytelling, and the people that were there will live in my heart forever. It is one of those memories, one of those experiences that even if I got Alzheimer's someday, I believe in my soul, I will not forget. And if that sounds dramatic, so freaking be it. It's my worthy journey, girls. And I knew in that moment that I was changed. Whether I won the slippers or not, it didn't matter, because I was finally unleashing the story that needed to be told. The story of my childhood that formed the backbone of all of the things I love about myself and many of the things that have held me back. And when I told that story, it lost its dark power and it gained so much light. And I won the ruby slippers by a vote of my beautiful peers. And I will forever be grateful to them, to Loren, to Katie, to Joanne and Sandy and Carla, and I could just name so many, Juliana, the women that stuck with me and believed in me and helped push me along in my worthy journey. Go back to the Female Friendship February podcast and revisit how important it is that you form female friendships, that you create a tribe of women that will move you along in your worthy journey. Join the Facebook community, become a girl out of order, because in that community, we have women that are committed to not only their own journeys of worth and value and mission, but yours. And that has been one of the most important parts of my worthy journey so far, is the belief in me that other women have shown and my courage to show up as I am, sisters, not in the finished product, not airbrushed or all Instagram perfect, but in my warts, in my worries, in my doubts, and say, help me find my way back. I even walked up to one of my sisters and I said, remind me who I am, because I'm forgetting. You're not meant to do this worthy journey alone, sisters. You are meant to do this in relationship with others. Find a coach, a mentor, a counselor, a pastor, a friend, a sister. Join the community. You do not have to walk this path alone. There are so many of us that are on this worthy journey together. Like I said, in the last podcast, I just was served on the crew for Jamie Kern Lima's beautiful one-day conference that was all about based on her book, Worthy. Again, that will be in the show notes. The book on Worthy. Please get the Worthy book, read it, digest it, get the workbook, inhale all of this information and challenge and beautiful truths and storytellings about your worthiness. Because I'm on that journey too. I have come so freaking far in the last couple years. I barely recognize the woman I was 2 years ago. I love her. I have so much compassion, empathy, and care for her, but I don't recognize her in the mirror now. And I'm so grateful. So let's talk about the Own Your Worth experience. Oh my gosh, I just want to share this because this conference is coming back in 2025 and I want you there. Boy, this show notes is going to be filled with links, because there will be a link, because right now there's a buy one, get one ticket for next year's conference, and you don't want to miss this conference. This conference was filled with so many badass women, powerful women. Loren, one of Loren's main phrases for her True Voice brand is badass and beautiful, masculine and feminine, dancing together, and women supporting one another, lifting each other up. No gossip, no judgment, no tearing down, no jealousy. That's the overarching vibe at this conference, both in studio and online. And so I got there. I got there on Thursday and there was a VIP reception with so many women that I never dreamed I'd ever be in the room with. Women that have achieved things that are so far beyond where I've been at my life thus far, and women that would have intimidated the hell out of me before. And I had to repeat to myself over and over, I'm not lying, I belong, I belong, I belong, because those doubts are right there niggling at the back of my brain, that shitty committee saying, you don't belong here. Who do you think you are? And you have to silence that shitty committee. And that's an episode you should go back and listen to as well in the podcast. But that shitty committee, anytime you're getting ready to move out of your comfort zone into your growth zone, there's this middle ground called the panic zone. My coach teaches me about that a lot. And when I start to get anxious and worried and sweaty, and she's like, oh, girl, you're spending way too much time in the panic zone. Your brain and body are designed to help you survive, and they want to push you back into your comfort zone. But on the other side of that panic zone is the growth zone. VIP reception for me might sound small to you all, but for me, that was a major growth zone experience, because I still wrestle with feeling like I'm this grubby little girl from the farm who's playing significance, who's putting on a suit and acting like she matters, when in reality, she doesn't belong. Can anybody relate to that? When you're stacks and stacks and stacks of evidence to the contrary that you are significant, that you do matter, that you have made a difference, even though it stacks to the ceiling, you pick out on just a couple little things on the other column and you go, that's me. And you doubt yourself out of your destiny. Now, a VIP reception may not seem like a destiny to you all, but to me, it was that 2 millimeter step in the direction of getting around the people that I know are going to help me get to the next level. Not just with my dreams, but in my worthiness journey. And I walked in and I knew with one hug that I belonged in that room where it was happening. And I confidently stuck my hands out, introduced myself, and I knew these were my people. And I felt loved and embraced. And I knew that there wasn't a woman in that room that was going to let me stack my doubts, that was going to let me rest on my laurels, and that was going to let me doubt myself out of my destiny. So then the next day, I took my roommate, my 93-year-old roommate, Hazel. That's another story for another time. I might actually have Hazel on my podcast because she is so amazing. But I took her over to the conference center where they were setting up, and I got to see all the behind the scenes. And I walked out into the area where the conference was going to happen, and I saw the stage on which I was going to stand. And I had that feeling, the butterflies and the heart palpitations and the pinch me moment, like, how is this my life? How is this happening? And I walked up to that stage and I thought, should I step up there? Do I belong on that stage? Am I worthy of speaking to Loren's people? And I chose to take those 2 steps onto that stage and breathe it in, because I had earned that spot, because I was ready to tell my authentic story and let the impact happen as it was meant to be. And I spun in circles and I took pictures and videos and sent recordings to my community and to my family. And I said, it's really happening. Because you see, I've been dreaming about becoming a public speaker probably since around 2019 when I made my vision board, and I put that sticker that picture on that vision board of a woman holding a microphone in an audience. And it was finally, after 5 years, it was happening. And I made a decision in that moment to decide I was worthy of being on that stage. Did it make the nerves go away? No. Did it mean the doubts didn't keep rearing their heads? No. Did it stop me from almost throwing up backstage before I took the stage and telling myself I'm going to forget everything I meant to say? No. But it allowed me to breathe it in. I did the power of the pause, and I just paused and I breathed, and it allowed all those proofs to come in and stack and stack and stack, and it took the doubts away, and it got me so freaking excited to be able to take that stage the next day. And that night we had a beautiful charity event for so many amazing initiatives started by incredible women in the community. 2 of which were my sisters from the Speaker Intensive, who one was speaking for the very first time, and she was so nervous. And I got to sit in that audience and be her anchor and help give her the courage to take the stage and live her dream. And then the other one who I got to see unfold with more confidence and style and grace and clarity. And it was beautiful. And it was another reminder that I was right where I belonged. And I kept making more connections and having more conversations and feeling more, not only at ease, but at home. And then the day came. And it was time to go to the Own Your Worth experience. And my first time ever speaking on that stage, I was the third to last slot of the day. So I literally had to sit through an entire freaking day of this conference with butterflies and doubts and rewriting my talk and walking out. And I'm not saying it was easy. I mean, I kept getting up and going out and getting up and going out and getting up and going out. Yeah, I did. And then I was second guessing my outfit and I was second guessing my hair. So what did I do? I decided to put my outfit on and embody the confidence that I knew I needed to feel. And then I asked my Veronica if she had some time to, what does she call it? Zhuzh my hair. I don't know what zhuzh means, but she did it. And then I was like, oh, that's what zhuzh means. She did my hair. And if you're on YouTube, you see like a really poor woman's inversion of how she did my hair. But she taught me that I can curl my hair and I can throw it up and I can be different and embody a new confidence. And I did. And I got to hang out with her. And she helped me be brave. And then I got to hang out with the amazing comedian named Kathy Buckley, who is one of the funniest people I've literally ever been around. And as silly as she is and as funny and dry her sense of humor is, she looked at me and she said, you go out and you tell your story. She gave me confidence. So what did I do for my worthiness journey in that moment when I was filled with self-doubt and fear? I got around badass women who would remind me of my worth. Are you seeing the theme? Are you understanding what I'm saying? I didn't do this alone. And in the online audience were 3 of my daughters, my husband, so many of my UHPW sisters. You know who you are. I love you so much. Alicia and Amanda and Paige and Pam and Zakiel and Gwenny and Erin, Eileen, my dear sisters. They gave me courage. And in the audience, I had so many anchors, my coaches, Joanne and Juliana, my friend Tammy, and her beautiful fiance, Kathy. They were in the audience helping anchor me, helping me be brave, fueling me to live my dream, to go onto that stage with energy and focus and clarity because I'm worthy, sisters. Suffice it to say that despite being radically cut off by the producer because we were running out of time, had to pivot, pivot, and I did. That moment of being able to finally take the stage for the first time ever, I believe was the first day of the rest of my public speaking journey. I will never forget what that felt like and how important that experience was for me, but not about me. It was about through me. Because when you're walking the journey of worthiness, when you learn to be used as a vessel to serve others, then it becomes telling your story and having it move through you to impact others. You actually get out of the way. So you're not focused on your worthiness. You're not focused on your fears. You're focused on your mission of impacting the lives of the listeners. And I'm so thrilled to say that because of the support I received by so many beautiful sisters, I was able to take that stage and become a vessel and to speak in a way that allowed my message to move through me and to impact the audience, most importantly, my daughters. And just to top it all off, the mom of a little 8-year-old who was in the audience came up to me and she said, I asked my daughter what her takeaway was the first day. And she's like, well, Mom, what's the takeaway? And I was like, well, it's probably a pretty good question for an 8-year-old. And she said, well, what stood out to you? And this beautiful little soul told her mama, that woman in the hot pink outfit that told me I don't have to hide. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I chose to believe I was worthy to take that stage and be used by God to touch this audience. And a little 8-year-old girl is going to know, because of what the lady in the hot pink said, that if something happens to her, she doesn't have to hide. She will go tell a safe person that when her tummy tells her something's wrong, she's going to talk to her mama. That's what it means to be used for God's purposes, to impact the lives of others with your story. How can I not have that move me along in my own worthy journey? And that was just one story that I was told after I shared my story. So I'm owning my worth, sisters. I am owning my worth as a vessel to be used to impact the lives of female human beings around the world. I am owning my worth to tell my story and let it move through me to be the mission to help women and girls achieve lasting change and live full, authentic, confident lives. And if that's the outcome of my difficult journey, oh, the fulfillment. That's what it means to be living a life where you highly value the human needs of growth and contribution. Screw security. Screw certainty. I'm leaning into uncertainty and variety, because when I did, my worthiness journey got amplified 100-fold. So take what I've told you and apply it to your own beautiful, precious, unique lives, because nobody has your story, sisters, and your stories matter. If you want to own your own worth, start figuring out what story it is you need to share. It doesn't have to be on a stage. In fact, most people, that's not their forum. It could be on a blog or in a conversation in a coffee shop, or with your significant other, or with your children. Because in the last week, before I told this story publicly, I needed to tell my children. And by sharing my story with my 4 daughters, my own girl tribe, you know what happened? They now know they don't have to hide. They now know who their mother is and what she's been through. And it helps them understand the strength and courage I now exhibit in my life. And I believe that by telling my story to my daughters, and if that was all I did, it was worth it. Because now those women are going to go out into this world and they're going to lead lives of authenticity and honesty and demand fidelity and ask for what they need and listen to their guts. And that has helped me understand the worthiness of my life, my mission, and my story. What story do you need to tell? I can promise you, by figuring that out, your sense of self-worth is going to exponentially grow. And then the quality of your life will just be so much enhanced. And your impact on this beautiful world will also grow so quickly. I love you. I am sending you all the courage in the world to tell your story, to own your worth, and to find your true voice. Because you are worthy, sisters. And this hurting world needs to hear your story. We need what only you can provide. And we're in this together. And I'll always be here as a fellow girl out of order. Thank you so much for joining me for this second episode in our worthiness journey. We're doing You Matter March, where we're talking all about worthiness. And frankly, as I was out on my walk this morning, I'm not sure I'm going to keep it in the month of March. We may extend it all the way through the month of April. In fact, that's probably where we're going, because here's the deal. This topic is foundational to the lives of women. Understanding our self-worth determine so much about the quality of our beautiful life and the level of impact we are going to have on this beautiful world. So join us next week for more topics about worthiness. I don't know exactly what it's going to be yet, but I'm trusting that the perfect topic is going to happen at the perfect time. And keep an eye on the Girl Out of Order Facebook community, because we are going to have at least 2 lives this month where we delve more deeply into the topic of worthiness. And I will see you there.